it might not work. It might not work the way I want it to, but we're going to give it a try. Gonna make sure my mic's up a little bit. And yeah, okay. So, intro first. Greetings, fellow humans. 'Tis I, Local Cryptid. Welcome to my channel. Hi, how are you? You look nice. Hope you're having a lovely day. We're about to have the Microsoft and Bethesda conference at this year's E3 event. It is again being held digitally this year, and I wanted to talk a little bit about my take on Xbox over the last sort of 12 months. The last couple, maybe like the last 6 months really. The stories that brought out in the run up to E3 and their event this evening. And what I think it means for gamers. So this is just a little bit of a little analysis. It's well-trod territory at this point, but I feel like I just want to bring my 2 cents to the party. If you want the TLDR version, chat, here it is. In fact, I wrote it down. You ready for this? We're going to do this Devin Townsend style. Here's the TLDR version of what I'm about to tell you. Ignore this. This is just a link for the broadcast. Microsoft are positioning themselves to make the most out of the changing way we play video games. They are doing this by making it easier for people to play the games they want, where they want, how they want, and making console gaming a more accessible hobby. This is great for gamers, but it will come at a cost. The 2 key words I want you to keep in your mind when we have this conversation are accessibility and inclusivity. And we're going to cover that a lot in the next, say, 10 minutes. I'm going to make this a very, very short intro to this topic. Now, in order to really discuss this properly, we need to address the elephant in the room. During the Epic and Apple lawsuit, we discovered that Microsoft make a loss on every single Xbox they sell. So not only do they not make a profit, but they don't even make back the entirety of the expenses they spend on producing an Xbox console. During the Apple versus Epic court proceedings, Microsoft confirmed that it sold every Xbox console at a loss, meaning it makes no profit from its hardware sales. While an open secret among hardware manufacturers like Xbox, PlayStation, and Nintendo, it puts into perspective how critical exclusive game sales and Xbox Game Pass subscriptions are for the company. Typo. I want you to keep this in mind while we talk about the other things that Xbox and Microsoft have announced, especially over the last few days, and some of the reports we've had from them since, say, earlier on this year. Keep this fact in mind. Every Xbox produced is sold at a loss. Keep that in mind. Just a couple of days ago, this story came out. Microsoft aims to bring Xbox to billions of players with or without consoles. The first thing they've announced over the last couple of days is that they are looking to find a way to integrate Xbox software into TVs and streaming devices. Over the next few years, if you buy a new smart TV or like a Chromecast or a Fire Stick, chances are it's going to have Xbox compatible gaming technology inside it. How is this possible, I hear you ask? I'm glad you asked. Let's talk about this. xCloud, or Xbox Cloud Gaming. This has been something that's been touted for the last couple of years. This is a bit like Stadia or Amazon's Luna, where you're basically streaming the game from a central server, which does all of the processor side processing. It does all the heavy lifting. It sends you the game and you play it on whatever device you're playing on. It relies on a few things being in place. 1, high-speed broadband. 2, powerful enough cloud processing capabilities. And 3, some sort of user end control which can operate at near to zero latency. You see it with Stadia, they're not quite getting like millisecond response times or anything, but they are getting playable response times in broadcasting their games. I don't know what kind of figures Luna's getting, but I'm guessing they must be comparable. We're looking at the biggest barrier to entry in console gaming being removed entirely within the next few years. You're not going to need an Xbox at all to play Xbox games. And the beauty of it is, looking here, Xbox Game Pass games will be playable on PC via browsers, Edge and Google Chrome, and on Apple mobile phone and tablets via Safari. So it is a browser-enabled solution, which means even older hardware will be able to do this as long as the internet speeds are fast enough. So the user hardware is there. We already have it in our pockets. All right? Keep that in mind. 5G over the next few years is going to become more ubiquitous. That means you're going to be able to play these games wirelessly wherever you are, as long as there's a 5G connection. How dope is that? And I want to bring it back to that point I was making about the loss on every single console. It's been an open secret with hardware developers for years that they make a loss on their hardware and they recoup that money via games. Well, this one's from, again, just a couple of days ago. Microsoft aims to release at least one new first-party game into Game Pass every quarter. That's 4 new first-party games every year coming to Game Pass. Game Pass right now, I believe, is like $9.99 just for the console version. I pay about $15 because I get the Ultimate Edition. It means I can get on PC and etc. It's a bargain. And it's going to open these games up to ridiculously huge markets. Xbox executives over the last few weeks have said they want to open up the market to the 3 billion gamers all over the world. This is the first step, getting them into Game Pass. They already have the hardware sorted out, or the lack thereof, and now this is the content. Xbox Game Pass in the hands of upwards of 3 billion players. What else did I have to say? This is interesting as well, but I don't really want to talk about it. This has had an interesting effect on Microsoft's gaming revenue, which has shot up 50%, even while making a loss on consoles. Let that sink in. Strong monetization across our platform. They have been able to make money hand over fist via Game Pass, via first-party games, even while making a loss on consoles. I want to bring it back to this point. We're talking about accessibility and inclusivity. What Microsoft have done is they've said, we don't want this hardware to be a limitation to people playing our games. We are going to find more ways to get our games into the hands of more people. Game Pass, cloud-based streaming services. The list goes on. I told you I hadn't prepared this bit. This is great for gamers. And let's talk about some of the other accessibility features they're building into their games. First off, Xbox Party Chat now gets text-to-speech and speech-to-text as an accessibility push continues. This is already a feature in certain games. It's a feature in Apex Legends. I use it a lot. It means that if you are hearing impaired, or maybe even you don't have a great headset, you can still communicate with your party via game chat using text-to-speech. How cool is that? I also want to point out that of all the major publishers at E3 this year, Microsoft and Bethesda are the only ones I've seen who have an audio description broadcast and an ASL broadcast running simultaneously with their main E3 performance. This is huge. This is huge for accessibility. It's huge for all the gamers out there who find themselves in a position where they are limited by some sort of barrier to entry, whether it be a disability, whether it be financial or economic, whether it just be getting their hands on the hardware, because the semiconductor shortages we're having right now are affecting gaming in a huge way. Now we find ourselves in a position where these limitations, they're not entirely removed. You can never entirely remove every single barrier to entry, but we are reducing the friction required to get someone into the Xbox ecosystem and get them playing games. That is phenomenal for gamers. It comes at a cost. I want to talk about that for a moment. That is going to come at a cost. But it's not going to come at the cost of developers, because as much as Game Pass developer deals are done behind closed doors, we're not privy to the numbers involved. We know from the anecdotal evidence of numerous developers and studios and publishers that actually they feel they get a pretty good deal out of what they get from Game Pass. Most anecdotal evidence says they pay a small license fee, I should say. They give there's some exclusivity deals involved. There's some time limits and such involved as well. I think they probably negotiate it annually, I would argue. But ultimately, not only do developers feel they get a good shake out of Microsoft out of it, but they feel that they get players who never would have touched one of their games. Remember, Xbox Game Pass members play up to 40% more games, and a lot of them are picking up titles and genres they never would have picked up before. There's more data on that in a Eurogamer article I saw earlier. I'll see if I can find the link and pop that in the description as well for this later. So it doesn't come at the developer's cost. Does it come at the platform's cost? Well, no, they're making money hand over fist. Clearly it's not coming at Microsoft's expense. They're making all the money in this situation. I mean, let's not kid ourselves here. Microsoft must be making the lion's share of this. No. The point I'm trying to make now is that it is going to come out of your pocket. It's going to come out of my pocket. Right now, Game Pass is very much in what we would call the user acquisition phase. It's why you're still getting these 3 months of Game Pass for $1 kind of deals. They're making it super cheap to get the user base built up. And even right now, the $15 a month I spend on Game Pass Ultimate is nothing compared to what I get out of it. Hundreds of first-party studio games from Microsoft, tons of back catalog material, the entire EA Play catalog as well. All of that for $15 a month on Xbox and PC. Plus day one content for all new first-party titles coming out. PS Play, I think, is the Sony alternative, and you don't get half of that. But you need it, obviously, to play PlayStation games in multiplayer. The same way you need Xbox Live to play Xbox games multiplayer. There's another point. Xbox Live is covered in Game Pass. You got Game Pass, you probably have Live as well. Once this user acquisition phase of the curve is done, that price is going to go up. My estimate, I'd say the cost of the basic package probably going up to about $15. The ultimate package, I say they could charge probably upwards of $25, maybe even $30 a month for ultimate. It would still be worth every penny. But that is how they're going to make this sustainable, is they're going to continue to up that price. I think they're going to raise that price to cover the cost because they are seriously drilling into, no, what's the word I'm thinking? They're investing in the infrastructure and they're pushing the boundaries of what is possible with cloud technology right now. That comes at a cost. And I think we're going to see Game Pass and its ilk increase in price in order to cover that shortfall. Remember, they do not make money from consoles. It's right here in black and white. They got to make it from somewhere. It's going to be from Game Pass. It's going to be from games. Is it still going to be worth it? I think so. I think it's still going to be horrendously worth it. I think its value proposition is such that the money is going to be worth it. But that price will probably increase over the next few years. And then will increase with inflation. I still think that Game Pass and its ilk are fantastic for gamers. It's a positive move for the consumer. But yeah, I'd be interested to hear what you guys think about it. Are you a Game Pass member? Are you someone who's curious about it but hasn't made the leap? I'd love to hear what you guys say. Let me know in the chat. Let me know in the comments. If you enjoyed this little rant of mine, a like would be really appreciated. If you are new here, it'd be really great if you could consider subscribing to the channel. I make new videos every week. I do these short streams now every weekend at the moment. Normally a Sunday evening. Be cool to have you around. But this is going to be the end of the video portion. And to those of you watching this at a later date, thanks for hanging out.